Life Audio.
Welcome to the Crosswalk Devotional. We're glad to have you listening. Today's topic is about gaining favor in the eyes of God and others. We'll return with the devotional after a brief message from one of our sponsors.
It started with a knock at the door of a small clinic. A grandmother stood there holding her grandson. He was burning with fever. The nearest hospital was hours away, and she had no way to get there. Through This Moment Matters, a ministry of Global Ministries and UMCOR, that clinic had medicine. It had trained staff. It had hope. The boy received treatment that day. The grandmother left with tears in her eyes and relief in her heart. This is what happens when the church refuses to look away. When we decide that every life carries sacred worth. Your gift today helps strengthen health systems, support migrants, fight hunger, and build peace in communities under strain. Visit giveumcmission.org/future and be part of the story God is still writing, because this moment matters.
This month on the Salvation Army's weekly podcast, Words of Life. We're wrapping up a series where we've been focused on Christian writers and authors of all kinds. And beginning March 11th, we'll start sharing a testimony where you'll hear from members of a Salvation Army band right after they returned home from a powerful trip and ministry opportunity in South Africa.
One of the lasting effects that I have of the entire trip was hearing the kids sing back to us.
There's a chorus that says, "What shall I render to Jehovah? For he has done so much for me." And to hear kids who have been abandoned sing that with every bit of their spirit back to God, I will never forget that.
Listen to Words of Life wherever you get your podcasts or visit wordsoflifepodcast.org.
Gaining Favor in the Eyes of God and Others, written and read by Carrie Eichberger. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. Proverbs 3, verse 3 and 4. The sad truth is, it sincerely upsets me when someone doesn't seem to like me. And though I've certainly struggled with people-pleasing, I've come to the conclusion that my concern over how another may perceive me isn't just about pleasing the person. Not to mention, I know people are impossible to always please. But I'm beginning to believe the majority of my mission to receive favor in the eyes of others is rooted in the desire to do the right thing. Not necessarily by them, but by God. But to be honest, discerning the God-honoring way can be tricky at times, because my heart and mind can deceive me. That's true for all of us. We may tell ourselves our words and actions are justified and right, but too often, our human flesh naturally prompts us toward selfish motives. So occasionally, when someone seems to have an issue with me, I start to wonder if they are sensing such behavior and are justified in their ill thinking and feeling. On the flip side, if someone seems to be pleased with me, if I appear to have their favor, it sometimes serves as an indicator I'm on the right path. But then again, this thought process is flawed as well. Do you personally ever fall into people-pleasing, or simply and strongly desire to gain favor in the eyes of others? If, like me, you do find yourself aspiring to find right standing with people, why does it matter to you? Though the more important questions we should consider are, what really matters and who really matters? We certainly can't always please people because we are all flawed and imperfect. But we aren't called to please people anyway. We are called to love them. God is the only one we should ultimately aim to please. He alone is who we ought to set our hearts on pleasing. He is who we ought to set out to please because of our love for God, because He first loved us. And what is pleasing to God is our loving Him and loving others. Our goal should not be to please others, but to love others for the sake of God and our love for Him. In our quest to transition from pleasing to loving, our goal should also be to love the way God called us to love, the way Jesus loved. And I'm sure you're closely familiar with this passage, but he perfectly describes how he longs for us to love in 1 Corinthians 13. Verses 4 through 7 read, "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres." This type of love is a tall order, no doubt, but this is a replica of what love looks like in the eyes of our loving Lord. These are the attributes we should aim for in learning to love. And as we learn to love more and more like God commanded us to love, we will find favor in His eyes and of others. Intersecting faith and life. Proverbs 3, verse 3 encourages us to let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. And verse 4 claims, "Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man." So if you desire to find favor with the Lord and those around you, let love never leave you. Instead of seeking to please people, make it your life mission to love better. Practice filtering your thoughts, decisions, words, and every action through the 1 Corinthians love filter. Are your actions patient, humble, kind, selfless, drenched in truth and holiness? Are your words that of protection, trust, hope, and perseverance? This is love. While it's not necessarily a wrong desire to want to please others, the heart and goal behind this desire should truly be to love them as God would love, for the sake of God. Determine to root your desire to gain favor with those around you in your desire to please God. Let that desire to please God fuel your fire to love like God. And in loving like Him, you may gain favor with others, but your striving to please people will be replaced with refreshed and confident rest that you are pleasing in the eyes of our good God. And that is all that really matters. If you liked what you read today, I think you will love my latest book, Win Over Worry, Conquer What Shakes You and Soar with the One Who Overcomes. You can find it on Amazon or your favorite online retail site. I hope it blesses you.
The Crosswalk Devotional is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review this podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.
Two weeks old, in an iron lung, which is, like a sealed oxygen unit, fighting for my life. I couldn't breathe properly, and apparently I didn't make a sound from the day I was born because my lungs were all messed up.
That's Martin Smith of Delirious sharing a personal testimony on The Walk, a podcast for worshipers. Join us weekly to hear songwriters, worship leaders, filmmakers, and other creatives tell stories in the form of a devotional. The Walk can be found on lifeaudio.com or your favorite podcast platform.
I'm Mark Vinette, host of the Historical Jesus podcast, which presents the new series, Miracles, focusing on biblical miracles from the Old and New Testament. Join me on the Historical Jesus podcast as I explore the interesting, compelling, intriguing, and wonderful miracle stories of the Bible and the many great miraculous events inspired by the words and deeds of Jesus Christ.